Well, hello, here we go. The final part, I think part 6 of our big Doctor Who magazine 60 years poll breakdown. It's been a long time coming, apologies, but we thought we'd let the actual 60th stuff and Christmas get out of the way before we turn our attention to the final results.
Speaking of which, before we put the 60th stuff to bed and look back at these years, I have something for you, Richard. A belated Christmas present that might have something to do with 60th stuff.
Very good, let's have a look.
Yeah, but we'll see. It can be our way of addressing the 60th before we take a look back at everything else that's gone before it. So here we go. This is the one that was missing from the last video. I wonder what it is. I'm a very good rapper.
I'm going to make this easier for myself. Okay, interesting.
Here it is.
Interesting. 1, 2, 3. Meep. Thank you very much.
Meep of all the meeps.
Perfect.
There we go.
Lovely stuff.
Lovely.
Let me have my cups of tea and stuff.
It was either the coaster or I wanted to get you the badge. You know, there's a lovely badge of the meep.
Yeah.
But it wasn't out till... I think it's only just come out. I don't know. It seemed like it wasn't being released.
It's one of those weird things where there are two versions, I think. There's one with meat written underneath.
Yes,
and
which
one
was
without.
Was the meat one like a
convention
Comic-Con exclusive or something like that? Yeah. One of these crazy things. But yeah, so...
Goodness me.
The 60th, obviously.
Make this easy for us.
Yeah. It's a lovely little thing.
It's a stupid security tag.
I know, Forbidden Planet, I really do like to keep their coasters secure. You don't want to nick those coasters.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Let's stick that.
He can go with, or the meep, can go with Shooty.
Oops.
Or just fall off the TARDIS.
Right.
There we go.
There is a plan.
The meep can sit,
worked.
and then we see everything.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're not going to be talking about the 60th stuff, given that it wasn't part of the poll. So
it's true.
We're looking back from Power of the Doctor backwards.
Yeah. I wonder if it had been included, how
they would fare.
How would it have done?
Do you think any would have reached the top 3? Well, naturally they would have reached the top 3 of the 14 Doctors, but would they have reached the top 10? I wonder. I don't think so.
Possibly not.
No.
It
almost seems like there wasn't a kind of Day of the Doctor-ish kind of hype surrounding the love of the... That's not saying that that's how I would perceive it.
I do think, obviously, Wild Yonder is the one that people... Well, I think the one that people have seen, kind of, because at the time they kind of leapt that one, and I think even now as well, that seems to be the consensus. And I have to say as well, actually... outside of the hype and the disappointment or whatever from the marketing and stuff, actually going back to that now, I'm like, this is a really good episode. Possibly still not my favourite of the 3, but I can really appreciate actually.
Is that Starbeast?
I don't know. Maybe.
Are they all kind of on a level pegging at them?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest, because they all do different things, don't they?
They do. It's so hard to assess them on the same kind of level, but.
I've had a lot of fun with the giggle, but I don't know. It wasn't that I disliked the final 20 minutes or so, but it's a very different episode after that. So I don't know. But there we go. 60th, the meep. Thank you very much. I should say as well that on the subject of Christmas presents, I have read Doomsday.
Have you really?
I've read Doomsday.
Wow! Yeah. And what do we think? Give me an update. You're still here. You're still alive, which is positive.
Yeah.
I saw that you posted it on your Instagram, so I assumed that you'd been doing something with it.
So 4 hours, 4 parts. So you get the Kralls in the first part.
Kralls?
Second part is a ghost on Satellite 5.
Right.
The third part is like a living asteroid that's about to hit a planet or something. And the fourth part is the Slovene, bit of political intrigue type thing.
Right.
It's all linked together. So the Ninth Doctor appears... I think he appears in 3 of them.
Oh,
well, 2 of them, but it's quite brief.
Like a sort of high and by.
And one of them it's literally the last one, just for 5 seconds, and then leaves Doom, and then so Troughton doesn't show up until literally I don't know 20 pages before the end of the whole thing or something.
What
really right at the end. It's an interesting one actually. It's it reads like sort of. Season 6B Troughton or 2 Doctors Troughton. I'm on a mission. I'm like you, Doom. I'm also doing covert stuff.
Okay.
So picked up by the end a bit with the Slitheen stuff, but
it's one of those kind of.
It's just like, how can I get invested in this? It doesn't really amount to anything.
Well, I wholly apologise, and I hope the coaster makes up for it. But there we go. We can put Doomsday to bed now.
Doomsday to bed.
It's trickled out as it kind of should do. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading one of these. It's on my list of books that I'm going to be reading this year. So I'm very excited to see how the 10th Doctor and Donna story, after we've now seen them back together.
Oh yes,
look back and those kind of those times. And I think it's written by Dave Rudden, who did the Wintertime books.
Some of those anthologies.
I think like 12 Angels Weeping was one of his and that sort of stuff. So very interesting writer. It'd be interesting to see him do a longer form story that's not just a few pages. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Very excited.
And of course the novelisations of the specials now. I think.
Oh, have you got any?
I haven't got them yet. No. I think as we speak this week. Well, I think actually today copies have started to arrive of the Church on Ruby Road as well.
Oh, is it a hardback version?
Of the hardback version, yes. They'll probably do a paperback. Yeah. Maybe this summer or next. I think
everyone will wait
certainly at some point. Yeah, but there we go. So. Anyway, that's all the future that it was at the time. The big poll then. So to recap, I think we've done about 5 breakdowns of the Doctor by Doctor results.
Yes.
We gave our thoughts along the way. We made some predictions. If I should pull those out, shouldn't I? Our predicted top 10.
Oh, did we write it down?
I think we did.
Yes.
I'm only just remembering this. I'm awful planning. But let's have a look at what we put down, because I remember from the time. I think we discussed this privately, but we didn't do a video until now. We
got a few wrong for sure. Like Power of the Doctor, I think we put at number 8 or something like that. Just because we thought, recency would make sense. But obviously that's not featured anywhere on here. Inferno as well, we decided to put on there, but nothing from the 3rd Doctor, 2nd Doctor, or 1st Doctor has featured. So that was a surprise, but I think we got a lot of the other ones right.
Yeah. So I'll go to the actual video. That's the one way to.
That's probably because you put a thing at the end, didn't you?
I put a thing at the end. Yeah. The thing I remember from the time is when this originally came out, which obviously was a few months ago now. I think we just kind of thought of it in a different way, hadn't we? We kind of thought, so if you had to make a top 10 out of these episodes, what would it be?
Yeah.
And the actual way they've kind of worked it out, again, part of the unusual way they've sort of done it this time round, it's like the percentage of like which ones appeared in the most people's top 5s type thing, isn't it?
So even if you put Heaven Sent at number 5, and I know only like a handful of people put it at number 1, say, the fact that it's still featured in that top 5 is enough to get it up there. It is when you think about it like that, that is a very strange way of doing it. You would have thought they would have been like a number 1 vote gets 5 points for that story, etc. So I don't quite agree with the way that they've done it. I think it's very it doesn't paint a good picture of how people see the top 10, if that makes sense.
No, it's a kind of skewed thing, isn't it?
I can see it. I can see the list there.
Yeah, I'll wait for it to show up. But there we go. So we put 1, Day of the Doctor, 2, Blink, 3, Caves of Amjazani, 4, The Empty Child, 5, City of Death. Oh God, it's gone now. 6 was Heaven Sent. Genesis of the Daleks at 7, Remembrance at 8, 9 was Inferno, Paradox was at 10.
Oh, okay, right, there you go.
So the actual list we got. So what we got? World Enough Time, Doctor 4, Heaven Sent even number 1 with 35%. So that's the highest. So that appeared in 35% of people's top 5s that they gave. World Enough Time, what was 28.7, and then everything sort of below it was like 25-26% odd. So Genesis in 3rd place, Amjazani in 4th, Day of the Doctor in 5, and 5th, and that's the top 5. And below that, Blink, Human Nature, Save Death, Remembrance, and the Library two-parter.
So we missed off World Enough and Time. We missed off Human Nature, City of Death, and Silence in the Library. I think the most striking thing, perhaps, is that the 10th Doctor gets 3 slots in the top 5. Capaldi gets 2 as well. Baker gets Tom Baker at least gets 2.
Stephen Moffat as well.
Stephen Moffat,
like 1, 2, 3. Does he get
I think it's
5.
Half of the top 10 of the Moffat.
10. Yeah.
Shocking to me that none of Eccleston's have made it into there, because Eccleston's run is so strong. I think we pinned at least Empty Child getting in there.
Yes.
So that's quite shocking to me. But the stories themselves, aside from World Enough and Time, which is good, the rest of them do seem like those kind of typical, top 10 stories.
Yeah.
I think the only surprises are World Enough and Time and Silence in the Library.
The library
we don't usually see
to be that high up is a little bit surprising.
That is quite shocking. Mm-hmm. Girl in the Fireplace, I would have seen higher up than that.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is me taking a step back and looking objectively, not like disregarding personal opinions. I think Girl in the Fireplace is just that more renowned, popular story than Silence in the Library. I can't remember what the other. There was 5 for each Doctor, wasn't there? Was there 3?
There were 3, I think. So
yes, there was. Yes.
I don't even know if Girl in the Fireplace was one of them, because Midnight wasn't in there, was it?
Yeah.
I don't think it was. Like Turn Left or something, or that was so long ago now. I've forgotten.
Yeah, a very long time ago.
Yeah.
But what
Human Nature, of course.
What do we think of Heaven Sent being our new number one
it's interesting,
story?
isn't it? Because in the month by month Doctor polls, I think World Enough and Time came out as number 1.
Yes.
The 12th Doctor, and now they've only swapped one place, but it's interesting
when people put it in perspective.
So when you think of it, in terms of which is the best 12th Doctor story, people went more often than not went for World Enough. When people are faced with, name 5 best Doctor Who stories of all time out of those 2, they're somewhat more likely to go for Heaven Sent. Yeah. It's an interesting one, because I think at the time in our 12th Doctor video, I remember saying that I kind of was okay with the Series 10 finale being in number 1 as a story, as a rounded piece, in terms of, you've got your Master in there, you've got more companion stuff, and Cybermen, obviously. I don't know, Heaven Sent obviously is the tighter script, and it's more of a chamber piece, isn't it? It's more deserving in that regard.
But is it...
How do you feel about that? I don't know.
It's so tricky, because when you look at it as a Doctor Who story,
it's
very untypical. Yes. It's... there's elements of Doctor Who in there, but it's very much just like a Stephen Moffat kind of, say, a chamber piece, a one-man play. Does it represent all of Doctor Who? If you showed someone that and went, this is the number 1 Doctor Who story of all time, and they watched that, would they, No. I mean, it is a very good piece of television, absolutely, but as a Doctor Who story, I don't know. I don't know if I agree, personally.
Yeah, and I remember feeling that at the time now, you say it as well, opening this up and turning to it and be like, okay, Heaven Sent, love Heaven Sent, but
it's more an
the best Doctor Who story, the most typical, or the story that does all the things Doctor Who does the best.
Which obviously, fans aren't sitting there with all their options going which one is the most Doctor Who? They're just going, which ones do I like? I love Heaven Sent. I'm going to put it in whatever they put it in. It makes sense that it's I can understand how it's got in there, given the way that they've done the voting system. I think if they changed the way that they've done it, I think we might be seeing a very different top 10.
Yes.
So I think that's why it's ended up how it has. It's nice to see something different, I have to say. It's nice to be it's not another Blink, it's not another Day of the Doctor or Caves of Rosani.
Yes.
But it's still strange, isn't it?
It is.
That we've got 2 brand new top 2 as well. Not even just one, it's the top 2. Because I think World Enough and Time, again, if the voting was done differently, if they'd counted the votes differently rather, that may not even be in the top 10.
So
because
high.
I think that might have been one that people were like, it's really good, but I'm going to put these stories above it.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I mean, what's conspicuously absent from this, do we think, or from the 10 or the sort of 20? I mean, because I remember, stuff like Midnight didn't make it through, or Talons, or Deadly Assassin maybe, or... Yeah, I mean...
Are you thinking in terms of the options they gave us?
I'm just thinking full stop, really. I mean,
I think in terms of this top 10, either way, I think at least one Eccleston story should have been
Eccleston,
there. 100%, because it's so strong.
In there as well, 60 stuff maybe.
I can understand why the 60 stuff hasn't broken the top 10, because they are a very... Is acquired taste the right way to say it? It's like... you either have to be like a fan who kind of grew up enjoying those, or a fan of them who's kind of gone back and just appreciated that era for what it is.
Yes.
I think it's easier for people... There's more crowd pleasers in the Tom Baker era than there are in the Hartnell and Troughton. So I'm not surprised that there's nothing from them up there. I can't see like a Time Meddler or a Dalek Invasion of Earth getting up there.
No.
Neither a Dalek's Master Plan. What would the other ones have been? War Games, Invasion.
War Games.
And Tomb it would be. So Tomb perhaps might have had a chance. But I'm not surprised at that. I am surprised that there's no Pertwee whatsoever.
Pertwee one. Yeah.
Again, what would it have been? I don't think Inferno is like the best representation of that era, but it did get the number.
I think it's kind of repeatedly sort of been quite high up, hasn't it?
So I guess that's a bit shocking.
Yeah.
Baker, what did he get in there? So he got Genesis and City of Death.
City of Death.
What was the other one?
I
can't quite remember because there's so many.
What was the other one?
Is it Pyramids?
I don't think it was Pyramids. I think Pyramids was another one that kind of missed out. I think Deadly Assassin missed out. Talons missed out.
Yes. Revenge of the Cybermen. what would
I don't think Ark in Space was there.
It must have been another Hinchcliffe. Like
must have, yeah.
As much as I love the Williams era, it didn't do very as well as the Hinchcliffe stuff.
Yeah.
What would it have been? I have a feeling it was Pyramids. You know.
It could have been.
I think it was.
I know for Davison it was Five Doctors, Earthshock, and then Androzani obviously, which isn't surprising. Nothing, from Colin Baker
again. No hate on Colin Baker, but I'm not surprised that his story, because his era is so small and there are so many kind of hit and misses, as opposed to something like Eccleston's era, which is very strong constantly. I'm not surprised that Colin didn't, unfortunately. Still,
and with Sylve, it's always going to be Remembrance.
It's always going to be Remembrance.
Yeah. For better or for worse, I suppose.
For better or for worse, I think it would have been Remembrance, Curse of Fenric, and was it Survival? I think it was Survival. Yeah,
it might have been. Yeah.
So again, out of those, Remembrance always stands out for people. And McGann, are we remotely surprised that the TV movie didn't get it there? I think by that logic, then obviously no Eccleston. All of Tennant's got into the top 3. The only Smith that got in was Day of the Doctor. Do I agree? I don't personally. I would have put Vincent way above there.
Yeah.
Okay. And for Capaldi, 2 of his have got in. I can't remember what the third would have been. Would it have been Flatline or Mummy?
I think might be Mummy, maybe.
Mummy,
yeah.
I think it was. It was like Mummy, Oxygen, and Flatline were like within the top 5. And then again, does it surprise me that Whittaker's not featured?
No,
not even particularly.
Yeah, there's a fan.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose another shock as well is that City of Death actually beat Genesis for the 4th Doctor poll, whereas in this scenario it's another similar thing that they've flipped because more people have obviously put Genesis within that top 5 than City of Death.
I suppose the range of the percentages on this is quite interesting as well. I mean, 35% of people that voted put Heaven Sent in.
It's head and shoulders in terms of this vote.
And then like below that, you go 7% below for the next one. The 10th spot is 18%. I mean, there's a massive kind of gap there in terms of... So, yeah, I suppose it sort of says something about Heaven Sent that it has resonated with people. In a way, it's kind of surprising for me, I think, as well, that such a recent story, relatively speaking, it's coming up to 10 years ago now, isn't it? But like... a relatively recent story has managed to resonate in that way, and I think it's nice that the Capaldi era, which I suppose wasn't always looked upon as fondly at the time, but then there are always these kind of hitters, weren't there?
Yeah. Capaldi's one that it feels like it's an era that's kind of like there's incredible highs, but then also some incredible lows as well. Maybe that's just me personally, but like you go from The Girl Who Died to stuff as incredible as World Enough and Time and as Flatline and all those sort of things. So it's so polarizing. Whereas again, like I say, the Tennant era is more full of crowd pleasers, and this kind of sums that up really. Given that you know, all three of his top three have made it in.
Yeah.
All of which I know, aside from Human Nature, were Moffat stories. So yeah, it's a really bizarre one. It's not what I was expecting, and it's almost not quite a case of, it's lovely to see kind of like a new top 10, because it feels like it's just the usual ones, but with two new ones at the top, which kind of don't make sense.
I don't think it feels representative in the same way, does it, as other ones have in the past, and we're probably never going to know what the actual top 10.
I just don't.
The other way of doing it, the traditional way of doing it, we're never going to know that those scores are there under lock and key. I think I was watching a podcast interview with Jason Quinn, the new editor of Doctor Who magazine, recently, and he was sort of saying, I mean, it's fair enough that he doesn't like kind of doing stuff like that and polls, and he's not so up for doing the whole list and publishing the whole thing and that kind of thing. It's a shame from a fan point of view to not know what that was. Maybe one day someone will raid the archives, and the offices, and find out. And
I'm sure when it comes round to the next poll, we've had a kind of, it'll be within those list. Kind of rankings, won't it? Yeah. It'll be it got this position in the 2023 one.
It's such a weird way of doing it, but I think as well, one nice thing to end on. I did find it quite nice how, I mean, obviously, like I said, the Capaldi era being celebrated, Capaldi himself, a fan, being celebrated, Stephen Moffat himself, a fan, being celebrated, Rachel Sloley, who, of course, was doing the Star Beast. It was really nice, actually, and a kind of accidental, sort of coincidental thing, but, having all that love for one of her stories right when she came back to the show.
Yeah.
And, I bet they were really chuffed as well, the editors and stuff, we can have a big issue all about Rachel and stuff, and we can tie it all together. So I thought that was nice as a kind of moment in time thing.
And also hearing from Peter as well, in a time when we're so caught up with Tennant and Russell and all that sort of stuff. And it's well, let's look at this side of things, celebrate Peter and his Doctor, celebrate Moffat and his storylines. Moffat obviously coming out incredibly well from this poll. He's smashed.
It is,
smashed this poll.
Kind of incredible.
So it's a really, it was fantastic for that. You're right. Yes, definitely. And no matter what our personal thoughts on our top 10 are, that's going to be. That's just the way of it, isn't it? It's never going to align with anyone else.
It was a moment in time. I think more so than any of the other polls before it. When will they do this again? I don't think for a while.
No, we're going to wait until Shooty leaves,
10 years or something, or maybe less than that. I don't know.
We'll see another few Doctors before then. Yeah. Because has it been 10 years since
this
the last
one? Near enough. I think 9 years. I think 2014 did it after the 50th, didn't they? So there we go.
We go.
I mean, let us know all of your thoughts, obviously, on the final 10 in the comments below. And I hope you've enjoyed this little series. We've been running across the channel for however many months it is now. A long time. I think 6 videos. Big sort of epic thing. Probably should publish the whole thing as one sort of omnibus saga. I don't know. We'll see. But we've had good fun going through these. I hope you have as well. Stay tuned for more videos about other things that aren't so sort of
subjective.
So subjective and aren't things that happened 5 months ago. Hopefully some more topical stuff coming up. But otherwise, thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.